I am often asked the most extraordinary questions, questions born perhaps from a deep confusion or a desperate, lingering hope, which all seem to circle this one central anxiety. Will this practice, will this system help me to find what I am looking for? They ask me, will the practice of yoga, as it is being done in the studios of Europe and America, help to bring about a spiritual awakening? They ask, is it true that this yoga will awaken a deeper energy, this thing you call Kundalini? These are the questions put to me, and I see in them the whole structure of our search. We are looking for a method, a guarantee. We are looking for a system that, if we follow it correctly, if we pay the subscription, if we attend the classes, will mechanically produce a spiritual result. We have turned the immense, unnameable inquiry into truth into just another commodity in the marketplace. And I must ask you, have you considered what this yoga that is being sold to you actually is? This so-called yoga, which has captured the imagination of the West and is now re-imported back into the East, is largely a modern invention. The emphasis on these complex postures, these asanas, these forceful breathing exercises, this, I am told by scholars, was largely codified in the 17th or 18th century. And what was its purpose? It was a system designed to create a very good, healthy, pliable body, but it was to be achieved through force. Please understand this distinction. It was achieved through discipline, through control, through the will of the I imposing itself upon the me being the body, in order to achieve a result, in order to, as the proponents claim, awaken some so-called higher energy. This is still the field of ambition. It is the I seeking to become something more flexible, healthier, and ultimately more spiritual. It is the self decorating itself with new robes. When one investigates the truly ancient inquiry, that which was called Raja Yoga, the king of yogases, one finds a completely different emphasis. I have talked with a great many scholars and serious people about this, and it seems they never mention the specific physical exercises as the path to enlightenment. Their emphasis was on something far more subtle and profoundly difficult, a highly moral life. And please, I'm not speaking of the conditioned morality of a particular society which changes with the wind, which says this is right in one country and this is wrong in another. That is just conformity. I'm speaking of a true, living, ethical activity. This means a life that is actively intelligent, a life that does not cause hurt, a life that is not seeking escape through drink or drugs or endless entertainment. It means the right amount of food, the right amount of sleep, and above all, clear thinking. It was an inquiry into the very nature of action itself. They suggested normal exercise, of course, to walk, to swim, to care for the body, but their entire focus was on the quality of the mind, a mind that must be active, sharp, and intensely moral, meaning a mind that is seeing things truly and therefore acting rightly. So why, I wonder, do we call this modern system of exercise yoga? You probably know the meaning of the word. I have discussed this too, and while some debate the nuance, the popular understanding is that yoga means to join or to yoke. The implication is one of joining the lower with the higher, the individual consciousness, the me with the supreme consciousness, the Atman or God or whatever word you wish to use. But I must ask, in all seriousness, how can a physical exercise, a posture, however beautiful or difficult, join you with the immense? How can a breathing technique dissolve the I that is the very center of all division? It seems, when you look at it clearly, to be rather nonsensical. I don't know why I'm talking about all this absurdity. We don't call it exercise, do we? Because if we just called it exercise, it wouldn't appeal to this deep spiritual longing in you. It wouldn't sell. It wouldn't allow you to feel that you are on a path. So we have to call it yoga, and we have to pay a great deal of money to go and learn how to breathe properly, how to sit, how to stand. This is the marketplace we have created out of our own confusion and our desire for an easy answer. And I am not speaking from theory. I have gone into this myself, having practiced these various exercises for years, taught by those who were considered experts in the field. Fortunately, they didn't charge me, perhaps because they also mistook me for an expert. I assure you, I am an expert in nothing. And so, naturally, they soon deserted me. Or perhaps it was I who deserted them. The point is, the path was seen clearly for what it was. And I say this to you, and I beg you to listen not to my authority, for I have none, but to the logic and the truth of it. You can practice this kind of yoga, these exercises, these breathing patterns for the rest of your life. You can become supremely proficient, a master of the asana, and you will not awaken spiritual insight. You will not come upon truth, nor will the awakening of a truly different higher energy come into being. In the East, there is a word for this energy that so many are seeking. It is called Kundalini. You have perhaps read about it or been caught in the allure of this word, this promise of a dormant, serpentine power that, once awakened, will grant you bliss, insight, or perhaps even supernatural abilities. But I have discussed this matter very seriously with many people who have gone into it, who claim to be teachers of it, and I have observed a very strange phenomenon. They are always quoting somebody else. Their knowledge is not their own. It is borrowed. It is a tradition passed down. And when you trace it back, you often find yourself at the feet of some original mischief maker, someone who first set this particular trap. And I must tell you, in all honesty, that after meeting many of these individuals, I am convinced that none of them have awakened this thing they talk so much about. They have had certain experiences, yes. They have felt surges of energy, moments of ecstasy, peculiar psychological states, and they have immediately given those experiences this ancient romantic name. But what is it they are actually experiencing? When I have inquired with them, what they are really talking about is a certain form of increasing the existing energy of the self, which I am sorry to say is generally used to do more mischief, and I mean that quite literally. You see, if you live a life of perfect control, if you eat only the right food, If you control your breathing, if you force the mind into a narrow channel, you will naturally have more energy. You are not dissipating it in the usual slovenly ways. But who claims this energy? It is the me, the self, the ego, which takes this new power and uses it to fortify its own walls. This new energy gives you a tremendous sense of superiority. It makes you feel that you are enlightened, that you are special, that you have achieved something which others have not. This is the ultimate spiritual ambition. It is the self which was once weak and confused, becoming strong, certain, and dominant, and therefore infinitely more capable of creating division, conflict, and illusion. But there must be, a totally different form of energy. And I hesitate to go into it because the moment I speak of it, you will become eager, you will want it, and you'll immediately try to turn it into a system, a method to be practiced. But I must touch upon it. This other energy, which is the energy of life itself, which is not my energy or your energy, can only come into being when there is a total, absolute, and unconditional ending of the self. It can only happen when the me, the observer, the center is not, when that I is absent. Then there is an energy that keeps the mind, the entire brain, utterly fresh, young, and alive. And this must be obvious, mustn't it? Because what is the self? What is this me that you protect and cherish? Look at it in yourself. It is a center of constant conflict. It is a bundle of memories, of fears, of desires, all pulling in different directions. This center is in a perpetual state of wanting and not wanting. It is constantly creating dualities, opposing desires, endless psychological struggle. There is this constant battle going on inside of us. I must be this, I must not be that. I must succeed. I fear failure. I believe, I doubt. As long as this struggle is going on, there is a tremendous, a catastrophic wastage of energy. It is like a machine grinding its own gears. All of our psychological vitality is consumed in this internal friction. And when that struggle is not, when that conflict comes to an end, not through force, not through discipline, but through understanding it, through seeing it completely, then obviously there is a totally different kind of energy that takes place. It is not an energy that the me has awakened. It is the energy of the universe itself, which flows naturally when the me is no longer an obstruction. There is an old story about this. A well-known teacher, perhaps a philosopher or a patriarch, was sitting one day. A new disciple came to him, full of fervor and seriousness, and said, "Master, teach me how to meditate." So the teacher nodded, and the disciple immediately sat down in the right position, crossing his legs, holding his spine perfectly straight. He closed his eyes and began to breathe very deeply and rhythmically. You know the way it is done, trying to concentrate his mind, trying to capture the higher webs and the subtle vibrations, trying to force his way into enlightenment. He was full of will and ambition. The master watched him for a few moments, and then he quietly picked up two pieces of stone, two ordinary rocks, and began to rub them together, making a scritch, scritch, scritch sound. He just kept on rubbing them relentlessly. After several minutes, the disciple deeply annoyed by the distraction, opened his eyes and said, "Master, what are you doing?" The master, without stopping, replied, "I am trying to make out of these stones a mirror so that I can look at myself." The disciple, astonished, said, "His master, you are wasting your time. You can rub those stones together forever, but you will never make a mirror." And the master stopped, looked at him, and said, "In the same way, my friend, you can sit like that and breathe like that and control your mind like that for the rest of your life, but you will never see." Thank you for joining me in this inquiry. If these questions resonate with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel to continue our journey together.